Okay, good afternoon to you all. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to the August edition of our monthly seminar brought to you by PRAGSAC. This afternoon, we are pleased to have Miss Anna Paolucci from the United States, working with Slooh. And Paolucci is a passionate advocate for educational equity based in New York City. She has a degree in American Studies from the Cornell University. She has focused her career on advancing the American educational system. Her commitment to education is evident from her teaching experience at the Project Go project and AmeriCorp, a City Year program at the East Harlem, New York. Currently, she's the lead education partnerships at the Slooh, collaborating with schools from kindergarten to grade 12 level, and also to colleges worldwide, and also manage the organization, marketing, and social media activities. And that is why today we are privileged to have her to tell us more about Slooh and what she does and how our activities can also fit into that. And she's going to present on experimental space science education with Slooh with us. So, colleague, without much ado, let me welcome Miss Anna Paolucci to take the floor and tell us about Slooh. We can't wait, Matt.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that introduction. I'm Anna Paolucci. I run education partnerships, as you said, for Slooh out of New York City, but for schools all over the globe. And I first just want to say I'm so grateful to be here with you guys today. I was saying I think it's so amazing how through Zoom we're able to connect with people all over the world. And I'm so lucky to have been exposed to PRAGSAC. And I really just can't wait to chat with you about Slooh and space science and the work we do. I was also saying I'm eager to visit Ghana one day, but hopefully it would just be awesome to start out by getting Slooh into some Ghanaian schools. That would be very exciting. I always like to kind of start by explaining our mission and saying that Slooh was really founded with the aspiration of building a community of students that are exploring space together from around the world. So I'm excited today to show you how we're accomplishing that mission. I want to start with an agenda for my presentation today. We're going to begin with introducing you to Slooh, telling you about what we are a little bit. Then I want to zoom out a bit and just answer the question of why teaching space science is so important, especially right now, which I'm sure many of you are already pretty passionate about. Then we'll dive back into Slooh, talk about our mission, our network, our curriculum. And then the fun part of the presentation is I'll show you Slooh in action, which I'm excited about. I'm going to give you a demonstration of the platform. We'll be capturing some real images with the telescopes today, which should be pretty great. And then at the end, we'll have 10 or 15 minutes for a Q&A. So you can either, put your questions in the chat and I can look at them at the end, or we can just do it live Q&A at the end as well. I also want to say that unfortunately my background is not in astronomy, it's in education. So I'll try to answer as many technical questions as I can, but I can always connect you guys with our curriculum writers or our astronomers too, to answer some questions that might be above me. All right, let's get started. So what is Slooh? I wonder have a lot of you heard of Slooh before? I'm guessing maybe not. But I'll start from the beginning. Basically, we're a live online telescope platform with full space science curriculum that's standards aligned for all levels of education, all age groups. So we've got 10-year-old students using Slooh and graduate research students using Slooh. So it's really for students and pretty much anyone of various ages, backgrounds, and expertise in astronomy. In actually using the platform, students are able to control our telescopes themselves from their computer, tablet, or phone and capture images of various astronomical objects all live. So it's really about giving them a glimpse of what it's like to be a real astronomer, which is super cool for them. We've got 10 robotic telescopes that are located around the world at different observatories, and students can switch between them all live. And then we also have pre-built lessons that we call quests that are designed to fit into any educator or teacher's kind of class plan or syllabus. So it's really all about inspiring students with real world exploration. It's hands-on learning. It allows students to follow our curriculum, but also make discoveries of their own and really personalize their own learning experience. As someone who's in New York City, it's especially important in cities where there's a lot of light pollution and students don't have access to a clear night sky because there's no real way to get them inspired about space science otherwise. So this really offers them a chance to participate in space science in a scalable and affordable and real world way. But why space science, right? Why is space science so important? And I know especially in a lot of American schools and curriculum, it's often overlooked. So I'm constantly trying to emphasize why it's such an important topic that we continue to cover. So why space science? Again, many of you all probably know how important space science is to teach, but I just want to highlight a few things that we really care about and stats that I think are pretty awesome. First of all, space science education is proven to increase students' interest in the topic of science overall, which is really awesome. And if students aren't introduced at a young, early stage of their education, they're far less likely to pursue the topic of space science and astronomy in higher ed or for a career. As you can see up here, space science, and as you know, is also rooted in history. It has modern applications, not to mention its role in pop culture and philosophical and scientific implications as well. So space is constantly everywhere. Students are constantly exposed to it. I mean, especially if they go out at night and look up at the sky. I also find too that because it's so visually stimulating for students, it's a major gateway science and it appeals to a lot of different kinds of learners. So it shows students that STEM topics maybe aren't as intimidating as some students may think, and that there's so many other topics intertwined with space science, like social studies and history and art, which our curriculum really reflects. We really emphasize having something for everybody to get excited about. It's also such a great time for students to be learning space science because of the new space economy. So there's tons of opportunities for students in the field right now. So again, to engage them at a young age is crucial. And at Slooh, we're actually working on numerous initiatives alongside the space industry to show students a real clear pathway from Slooh to a career in space science. We are additionally partners with universities around the globe that use Slooh in both intro astronomy classes for beginners and advanced labs for astronomy majors and research. So what's super cool is that by joining the Slooh community, students as young as 6 or 7 years old are exploring alongside astronomers and young professionals around the globe. This too is again all very tied to our mission. I want to just highlight our mission again. It's really to provide equitable opportunities for students to explore space and learn astronomy, but also really to get students inspired to pursue careers in the field as we discussed above, which I'm sure aligns with a lot of your mission in bringing astronomy education to schools and exposing them to telescopes and space science. And I think by making our platform scalable and affordable, which is at the forefront of kind of our mission, we're really hoping that translates towards being accessible for students around the globe. Now, I also want to mention there's a lot that can be said about how a digital STEM platform online with so much autonomous learning and room for exploration, encourages women to pursue STEM topics further, because often STEM in a classroom setting hasn't been the most inclusive to women. And we actually have an amazing case study. We have a bunch of case studies on different schools around the world and different students that I can send out that are fun to read about how students have used Slooh in various ways. But this case study in particular is about a young woman named Michelle Park, who got super into space science through Slooh, was on it every single day, was capturing images, doing all of our learning activities. And now she's actually studying at Stanford astrophysics, interning at JPL, and she's an amazing person. And we just had her on one of our live shows. She was interviewed. So it's really cool getting to see students progress with Slooh and then follow their stories and keep kind of bringing them back. All right. So let's go back into Slooh a bit. So you can get a sense of our network and our partnerships. It's actually pretty funny because our team is located all over the world. Our community of users is located across the globe too. And so are our telescopes, of course. So our telescopes are located at observatories in the Canary Islands, Chile, and more recently, Australia. We just opened a 0.5-meter telescope in Australia that we're super excited about in Sliding Springs. So at this point, we're delivering 24-hour time zone coverage of the night sky for students to explore. So a student on the East Coast of the United States, where I am in New York, can wake up and use the telescopes because it'll be nighttime in Australia. So the idea is that it's always nighttime somewhere. Again, too, our telescope system is designed to be super scalable, and it's made so that students can not only schedule their own time slots where they're in control of the telescopes, we call those missions, those 5-minute time slots on the telescopes, but they can also join anybody else's time slot, anybody else's mission. So it's a very public telescope reservation system. And when I show you the platform in a little bit, you'll see how we can just hop on, join other people's missions, and also switch between the telescopes in real time and just see where they're pointed at and capture images. Again, we're already in K through 12 schools, so all level of elementary, middle, high schools, universities, after school programs, clubs across the globe, and it's great just seeing how they use Slooh in very different ways. But again, all with that same mission of inspiring students and getting them excited about space science with real world exploration. All right. Before I show you the platform, I want to highlight our curriculum a little bit, just to give you some context and explain kind of what the students can do within Slooh to actually learn. So of course they can explore and use the telescopes and capture images, but we want them to actually learn about what they're looking at. So they're not just, staring at beautiful objects. We want to give them some background on the topic. So our curriculum is made up of what we call quests. A lot of terminology to learn, but so far there's missions, which are the 5-minute time slots, and then quests, which are the standard aligned learning activities that we have. So what our curriculum is made up of, where students use Slooh telescopes to capture images of different objects, while also learning about the topics in astronomy, space science, or astronomy, science, social studies, history, art, pretty much all STEAM topics along the way. So it's really all about keeping different kinds of learners engaged and excited. So again, there'll be broad topics that are, space science related, but will encompass a lot of other topics into them. We've got over 60 of these different activities that our team has written themselves. We have a super creative team of curriculum writers. They're awesome. They're for different grade levels, different ages, different levels of astronomy, obviously. And each of the quests, again, involves scheduling time on the telescope, capturing an image based on whatever the quest is about, and then there's reading and writing and other elements as well to teach you about the certain topic and really get students engaged in different ways. The finished product, which is super fun, is that students actually design their own infographic quest posters with all the images that they took throughout this learning activity as kind of a visual output of their learning. So there's a lot of room for creativity there. And again, it lets students have a lot of autonomy with their learning. And just so you can get a sense, these quest learning activities typically take students about a week or so. Sometimes they'll need a few different days to capture the images, and schools structure them a lot of different ways into their curriculum. They can be homework assignments for students. They can be in-class activities to do as a group, as a class. And we offer a lot of support for teachers with onboarding and figuring out how they want to use Slooh. So I want to show you inside of one of these learning activities a little bit, just to give you an idea. This is an example of a quest called Nifty Nebula, where obviously students are going to learn about different types of nebula here. So inside this quest, students add their images that they took and then work with that data throughout the rest of the learning activity. So here you see that students are learning about reflection nebula. You can see they took their image of the reflection nebula here, and then they actually had to write their own reflections beneath it. And that'll all be part of their final quest poster. And this one is for middle high school level students, so probably ages 12, 13, or 14. And we have a whole, curriculum alignment page as well to show you guys kind of which quests align best with certain topics and certain age groups. And we have learning progressions that are really helpful for schools as well. So if you have a certain number of weeks and you want to work with a certain number of quest learning activities, it'll kind of tell you the best order to go in and whatnot. All right. So here we have our example of our first quest poster. This is always a popular one because these images are so amazing, and just the quality of image and students getting to be able to say that they captured these images themselves when they look like NASA images is a really awesome experience for them. So here is a quest poster from the quest I showed you before, created by a student. This is their finished product. It showcases the different types of nebula that they captured and then their reflections and some of their work along the way. And I love to mention, hello, welcome. I love to mention too that they get to have a lot of fun with the design elements and add different colors and fonts. So students can have a lot of creativity in the designing of these posters, and they can hang them around the classroom. They can present them to classmates. They can take them home and show families. They're like an artistic piece that they make. But it's also important to mention that this is just the visual output of the learning activity. So this is kind of the fun part of it. They do, as you saw before, do a ton of work behind the scenes, and that is what they'll also hand in to their teacher. They'll hand in a quest report with all of the questions that they did and the answers and the work. So these are kind of both things that are handed in, and that quest report can be graded by educators as well. Another quest poster. I love to just show these off because they're pretty impressive. This is another favorite quest. This one is actually about how ancient Incan civilization used astronomy to learn their calendar. And so here you can see how this quest has some cultural studies and history embedded in there along with the space science, which is super cool. Again, making it appeal to different kinds of learners, and again, just trying to show students and educators that space science really has something for everybody. And there's so much cultural studies. There's so much rich history when it comes to space science across the world. And it's pretty cool, actually. Our quest writer worked with a professor down in Bolivia to write this quest. So we love having kind of guest influences and different perspectives in writing our quests. The final quest poster I'll show you before we go into the platform. This is a favorite. So I'll talk more about this later, but anytime there's a big celestial event, we'll have a live star party, which is really fun for educators and students to tune into. It will obviously showcase whatever's happening live, but then we'll have tons of guests on and experts discussing it and teaching students about it as well. So in this case, last April, there was the Great American Solar Eclipse, which was very exciting. Our whole team went on this long road trip chasing the best weather, and we were calling ourselves eclipse chasers, and we finally ended up in kind of the middle of America. It was in Missouri, kind of in the middle of nowhere, a very small town, and we had a huge star party and awesome viewing of the eclipse. But here you can see we had a quest. It was a quest for the event because it's such a big event. So students could actually go through, do the learning activity, learn about solar eclipses while they were viewing it happen live on Slooh. And then there was so many awesome posters that students made where they really got creative. Here you can see, I really like how this student kind of snaked around all their different captures. Very cool. This is just to let everybody know, we're announcing that in the next year and officially in fall 2025, we will actually include a whole earth science curriculum as an addition to space science, just to kind of broaden the scope of our curriculum. And we'll be actually using satellite feeds in a similar way to our telescope feeds. And this new material will be included in the existing platform and included in all the student accounts and whatnot. So definitely stay tuned on more updates there. I think it'll be a really awesome kind of change in perspective to be able to show students, into space, but then also show them back what space sees of us down on Earth. So we're very excited about that. All right, now for Slooh in action. I'm very excited to show you guys the platform. Please just confirm with me that you can see the live feed of the sun now instead of my presentation. I'm thinking we're good.
Yes.
So I wanted to start my demo of the platform with a live feed of the telescopes, because why not start with the most fun part first? Here is our solar telescope based out of the Canary Islands and online all day when it's daytime in the Canaries, of course. So this gives you kind of a brief view of what the live telescope feed will look like. Obviously, what's going to stand out here is the little camera icon. So this is how you capture your own images on the telescopes. So if I just click, I can get up to 6 different images per each mission that I have on the telescopes, which is pretty cool. Now, besides the Canary 5, this is kind of a special one because it's just always online and obviously always showing the sun. You'll be able to switch between all of these telescopes as the day goes on and they come on. But right now, our Australia 1 telescope is on. It looks like a member entered their own celestial coordinates here. And in this case, there will not be an audio playing for this mission because it was somebody entering their own coordinates. But usually, when you have a mission live and it is one of our Slooh 1000 objects, which are the 1000 most studied objects in the night sky, is how we categorize it, there'll be an audio playing to give students some context and explain to them what exactly they're looking at. But more advanced accounts do have the capability, as you can see here, to enter their own coordinates and really control the telescopes any which way they want. Now, for more basic accounts and for younger students, we have them choose from a list of objects to make it easier for them. And say they want to view Mars, they just click to schedule a mission on Mars, and then they're headed to Mars. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit, but let's capture an image of this nonetheless. So as I mentioned, you really can join anybody's mission, as you see here, and capture images as you go. Now, again, as the day goes on, more of these telescopes will come online and you'll be able to switch between and check them out. But we'll come back there. Let's go to the dashboard to just kind of ground you guys on the platform. So when you log into Slooh, this is what you're looking at. You've got this header that's giving you the different sections and then the dashboard. So the first part of the dashboard is there's always going to be announcements about upcoming celestial events and the star parties that we're putting on, which is pretty exciting. So I mentioned star parties a little bit, how we have these live events that anybody can tune into. They're live streams, and they'll be discussing what is happening as well as showing live feeds of it. And they're super fun. They're fun for teachers and for space enthusiasts and for students, of course. So here you can see the different ones coming up. You can click to join, put it on your calendar, all of that. Now the workspace section I'll come back to a little bit, but this is basically like your community within the Slooh community. So each classroom will have their own workspace where the teachers can track student progress. They can assign them quests. You guys can share observations and a discussion board with each other. Again, I'll show you that later. But even if PRAGSAC had their own workspace with all of your members and people you work with, you could all be in one place like that. Now, any other announcements happening will be down here. And now the telescopes. So this is just a great bird's eye view of the telescope conditions for the day, what's online, the countdown to when the next observatory opens. So it looks like we've got A little bit of cloudy weather in Chile, but those telescopes will be open in about 9 hours or so. The Canaries will open a little sooner. And again, you can just see the temperature and all of that. And then the missions. So again, these are your 5 to 10 minute time slots where you're in control of the telescope. So right now, I don't have any upcoming missions because we're going to schedule one together. Now, there's a few different ways that you can schedule the missions. Sometimes what I like to do is look at the featured missions. So these are ones that are going to be super beautiful. A lot of people are joining. It's going to be good weather. Our system has kind of run through the different components here. And I think I'm going to join this mission to see the Orion Nebula later today. So to join it, I just click join and boom, in a second, it'll pop up as one of my upcoming missions, as you can see here. So now this is one of my upcoming missions. I'm going to the Orion Nebula. There'll be a countdown to when it occurs. Now, 15 minutes beforehand, I'll get an email saying your Slooh mission is upcoming. Hop on to see it live. But sometimes these missions occur in the middle of the night. And we don't want our young students waking up at 4 a.m. to see their mission. If they're very passionate, we wouldn't be against it. But ideally, they can sleep through it. And if that happens, if you've scheduled a mission, it'll actually automatically capture the image for you and download it to your account. So you'll actually have the data if it's a mission that you've scheduled and you're not able to be there live. But again, we encourage the live component. Here too, you can see weather, sky quality, object altitude, moon altitude, etc. There is also a really great guide section for each of these objects. If it'll load, which is great. So every time you schedule a mission, you should go check out the guide. It'll give you an overview about the object. It's just a great way to do some additional learning for students. You can actually see any other upcoming missions and join those. You can see observations from the community of that object and what they were able to capture. It's pretty incredible. I'll show you more about observations from the community later, but this is just a great way to learn, really deep dive into an object and learn about it. So that's how you can kind of learn more about the object you're going to be seeing. Now, any past missions you have here will be up here. It'll tell you if the mission was accomplished, or sometimes we'll have bad weather, of course, life of an astronomer, and it'll say mission failed, but then you'll just try again. Now, I'll show you in a sec how to schedule missions otherwise when you want to choose the object yourself or choose based on the calendar, but it's always good to kind of just join these featured missions because why not? Then the quests, the learning activities you're currently working on will be here in the dashboard, so you can just jump right in. And then the most important part of the dashboard is your photo gallery. So as you can see here, we just captured that image of the sun and those celestial coordinates that were scheduled, and now they're all here. So these photos are all yours to own, which is so awesome. You can download them as JPEGs or PNGs. You have total ownership on them. We also give you the raw black and white images as well as the calibrated images. As you can see here, students can also download the FITS files to work with the data. So there is a lot of room for more advanced research on the platform as well. But the photo gallery is crucial. Just look through all the different images that were taken. That's an awesome one of the full moon I got there. Right. Let's go back. The last thing on the dashboard that I'll show you is the observations from the community section. So we'll dive into that again, but this is basically like our Slooh social media section. It's really fun connecting people from around the world in the community to see what they're capturing, how they're using Slooh. And it's awesome. You can like, you can comment. It's just a super interactive way to connect all of our Slooh users, students, teachers, astronomers, amateur astronomers, everybody out there. All right, so that's the dashboard. Now I'm just gonna briefly run you through this top part. I kind of talked about the guide section a little bit, but again, it'll just give you a guide to every single object. It'll give you a guide to our different observatories. There's even a guide to Slooh in general. We also have demonstration videos that we like to send out. We do teacher training. We really try to make the process of onboarding Slooh as easy as possible for students and for educators. So the guide section is a great kind of database. Now the workspace, again, this is like your online classroom for you and your students on Slooh, or you and your community. So within here, 1 or 2 people will be the moderators, where they can add students, they can enroll people, they can assign the quests, and then there'll be a whole observation section where you can share just within your workspace the different objects that you're capturing. And again, it works kind of similarly to our broader community section, but it's private to just you. There'll be a discussion board. So this is really fun. People can post within, you can have students posting their thoughts on some of their captures. You can say to students, I want you to look at the community section and find an observation that really stuck with you and post about how it made you feel here. So there's a lot of different ways to bring the discussion section into it. And then this is the super fun part. Our whole platform is actually gamified, which students love, because if you make them think that it's a video game, they'll be more excited about it, because we know how students love their electronics. But we have a whole gamified system. We have a system called gravity points. So every time a student completes a mission, so, scheduling time on the telescope, completes a learning activity, a quest, or interacts with other people in the community, they build gravity points. And it's been really cool to see how some teachers will treat it as extra credit if students, whoever has the most gravity points, they'll use gravity points as a mechanism for grading their students. It's a really great way to keep track of how much students are interacting with the platform, but it's also just fun for them as well, because then they can accumulate points and are learning along the way. So it's the best of both worlds. And again, from here, this is where educators can assign the quest learning activities, and they can actually track student progress and see how far that they've gotten in all of them. And it's a great way to just monitor students within their workspace. All right. I'm going to show you the community section now. Again, this is just kind of a more zoomed in view of what I was showing you earlier. At the bottom of the dashboard, you can see all observations, you can see featured observations, and there's people posting multiple times a day. So there's really always something new to look at. Again, any upcoming star parties will be here with more details on them. And then always a fun part is the Hall of Fame, where you can see the top gravity point earners in the community, the top students, and all of that. One of my favorite Slooh stories is that the top student gravity point earner for the whole school year last year, so the student that was on Slooh the most, using it the most, said that she was actually behind everybody in her class, and then she got very competitive and wanted to win. So she was on Slooh constantly trying to get more and more gravity points. And now she's really into astronomy. And she said that she never expected that she would be so excited about space science and astronomy. And so it's kind of a great success story that through her competitive spirit, she actually became really excited and inspired about the topic of astronomy. All right, the quests. So here we have the quest learning activities in all their glory. Here you can narrow them down based on seasonality, based on different grade levels, which is great. So say we're looking at middle school science, so 12, 13-year-olds, you can see the different quests we offer. It'll tell you down here too how long it typically will take a student, how many gravity points they'll earn, and whatnot. I'll show you one of my favorite quests, and also students' favorite quest, is the lunar phases quest. So this is for a little bit older students. This is for, 17, 18, 19-year-olds. But this is, we have a form of the lunar phases quest for all levels of education, because obviously the lunar phases is a great introduction for super young students as well. But this quest, as you can see here, it takes about a month to complete, of course, because you're getting each phase of the moon. It'll say the different objectives and the standards addressed, and just give teachers some background information on what the quest will be like. You can even preview the quests as well. But each quest basically has a series of steps. Now, in this quest in particular, each step is going to be learning about a different phase of the moon and going in and capturing the image of that phase in particular as you go. And then the finished product, and again, this will take about 90 minutes of instructional time total, but again, it'll be over the course of a month. And this one is an exception. Again, most of them take about a week or so. The end of this quest, the lunar month ends, is when students construct their poster. So they're actually constructing these posters from within Slooh's software. So it's all within Slooh. And in the poster construction, all the images that they took from the quest will be accessible. They can, drag and drop the different phases, and then they can also reformat the quest as they like. As the poster as they like, and get creative with the design of it. And then they can download it, and they own it. It's a PDF, and they have it as well. Additionally, though, they'll download, as I mentioned before, they'll download the quest report. Hopefully it'll load in a sec. Here it'll see the quest report, which will be all of kind of the back end actual work that they did throughout the quest. And that's what they can turn into the teacher. And then the teacher will download the teacher resources, which will serve as like an answer key. And what's great too is inside each quest, you can assign the quest from here straight to your students. And you can assign them to all your students. You can assign them to one student at a time. So again, there's a lot of different ways you can structure it in. And at the end of each quest, students get a badge that's filled with gravity points for them. All right, let's go back to the quests. So definitely a fun part is assigning the quests to students, but also letting them see which quests excite them, and seeing students do more work beyond what you just assigned them is always pretty exciting too. We have tons of students that just kind of take off and will do all of the quests and get super excited. What's great too is that students have access to all the different quests of different grade levels. So even if a middle school quest does all the middle school quests, they can move on to high school quests and keep learning. There's really no end to Slooh learning, which we love. All right, let's go back to the telescopes. So as you can see, I clicked up here, this little telescope icon. Now you can see just which ones are online, which ones are offline as of now, and then most importantly, the schedule mission button. So as I mentioned, there's a few different ways to schedule missions. Another component is that within the quest, students can actually schedule missions right there to view the object that they need for that particular learning activity, or they can do it by the Slooh 1000. I don't know what this little square is, but we can just ignore it. Apologies. So they can choose a certain category. So say they want to capture an image of Mars. They'll choose Mars. They press preview mission, and our system will actually automate the best next time slot to see Mars based on weather. And it'll be on the Canary 4 telescope. Our whole system's in UTC time. But as you can see I'll show you on the dashboard, the countdown will be based on whatever time zone you're in to make it easier for students. Schedule mission, and then in a bit, that's going to be on my dashboard. The other great way to schedule time on the telescopes is you can actually look through each night and each telescope and schedule a time that way, which is really cool. So I'm looking at the Chile 1 telescope for later tonight. And okay, I've noticed that somebody has scheduled a time slot to see the Sombrero Galaxy, and I also want to see that. I can just join the mission like that. So that's really what makes it so scalable and public, is that you really can just join anybody else's just like that. Now, say I want to find my own time slot. All right, I can find an empty time slot and reserve based on category and object again this way too. So you can actually really choose based on telescope specifically and based on night. And if it's not going to be great visibility for the object you see, it'll just be like kind of grayed out and you won't be able to schedule the mission. So we're trying to set you up for success here and make it as easy as possible for students. And then we'll go back to the dashboard just for our last bit, and I'll show you that all of our missions are upcoming here. There's a countdown to when it'll be live for Eastern Time where I'm located. And again, you can go visit the guide for each of these sections or each of these objects and learn more. All right, I think that gives you the gist of the platform. I'm gonna go back to my deck and move on to the Q&A portion. I really appreciate all of your guys' attention. I know that was a lot of information and a lot of me talking, but hopefully that really gave you an introduction to what we're all about and how Slooh operates and how your students can use it. Again, it's really great for students of all ages, which I think makes it pretty special. And it's just so cool that students of such different grade levels and ages can be looking at the same object and capturing the same images and then, working with them in very different ways. But I'm going to open it to you all now for a bit of a Q&A. Does that sound good? I think we're okay for time. Okay.
Anna, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We are privileged to have you, at least to open up things about Slooh to us. I'll be taking a few notes of what you have been presenting, and before I notice some of the questions I've written down, you have answered some of them already. So without much ado, I think I'll open the platform to everyone here to ask their questions that they have. Please, the platform is open now, so kindly go ahead and ask questions.
Awesome.
There's a question from Kofi Yeboah on the chat. Which telescope does Slooh have access to?
What was the question? I'm not seeing it in the chat.
Yeah, it's in the chat. Oh, I think it's sent to me direct. Okay.
Oh.
Which telescope? Okay, I can republish it though. Which telescope does Slooh have access to?
The sizes? What is it about? Which telescopes does what? Sorry, I didn't hear
you. Kofi, is it possible? Okay, this is the question. Is it possible you can unmute and?
Oh, here we go.
Slooh have access to? Okay, that's the question.
So
my first question was that is Slooh available to every student in the world?
Yes. So Slooh is available to any student in the world that wants to use it. All that students really need to have access to is a computer, a tablet, or a phone with internet, and they'll be able to use Slooh. There is costs associated with Slooh accounts. Again, it's very affordable, but we also do work with like low income schools and communities, and we offer grants, and we try to work to meet schools in the middle so that we can make it as accessible as possible. So we never want, pricing to be an issue. So bottom line, yes, it's available to students all over the world. And then your other question I can answer about which telescopes does Slooh have access to?
Exactly.
Okay. So we actually own and operate all of our own telescopes in partnership with different observatories. So we have partners in the Canary Islands, at the university there, in Chile, and in Sliding Slings, Australia. But it's all our own equipment and camera system. They're robotic telescopes. They all vary in size. Our largest is we have 2 half-meter telescopes, and I believe there's 11 in total. But it's all our equipment and all of our telescopes. And we're always looking to expand, but yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No question in the chat. You can raise up your hand. I'll call you to. And those of us watching us live from Facebook, please, you can put your questions in the chat. The comment section, I will pass them on to you. Okay. All right. Please, questions.
It's great too, because it's really student-led learning. So the students are in control of their work, which is great. So it's less work for the educators.
Okay, just a comment from Sarah. So in creating a workspace, can PRAGSAC as an organization create a workspace and allow all people, other students from Ghana to use that workspace specifically? Or
Yes.
does it mean, okay.
So you guys could choose how you want to do that. So you could either have individual schools with their own workspace or even individual classrooms, or PRAGSAC could have one workspace where they enroll students from various schools and just create a large community there. Or you can actually do both, right? So you can have PRAGSAC have a larger community workspace, and then you can have more individualized workspaces for different classrooms at different schools.
Okay. I think that would be a good idea, so that we can also monitor their progress and also challenges and see how we address them. Sometimes some of these challenges along the line may differ as per each geographical locations and other things. So I think that would be a good thing to go with. Another question I wanted to ask, I wanted to know if a multiple people or group can make a book or schedule a slot for the same observation at the same time. But in your presentation, getting to latter end, I think you have just clarified that. So that is okay there.
Yeah. As many people as they want can join the same mission on the telescope. So that's why it's so public. So you can have hundreds of people all looking at Mars at the same time and capturing images. And you can tell in a classroom setting, you can tell your students, everybody join the mission I've scheduled later, and post the image that you capture in the discussion board too.
Okay, great.
Oh, I see a raised hand.
Okay, yes. Yeah, Benjamin Tete, yes. Benjamin is one of the school teachers from part of PRAGSAC. Yeah, so we have a few teachers here. We have some of our colleagues here as well. Benjamin, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. It's been a nice program, but there's this question that I find very challenging. When students have access to viewing of the space using the telescope, assuming we have about 100 students online trying to view it, how is the telescope positioned in a way that there wouldn't be any interference in viewing space? Maybe I want to view a part that's on the west part of, let's say, viewing space, and then another person wants to view maybe the northern part. Does it have any effects on the telescope?
So you're asking if, students at the same time can view different objects in different areas? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
The answer is yes, because we do have different telescopes that can be pointed at different objects at the same time, but it really depends based on visibility and weather, of course. But yes, in theory, I mean, even if you went to our telescopes right now and the Canary 1 and the Canary 2 and the Chile 4 telescope were all online, students could be viewing different objects all at the same time and capturing images all simultaneously. And having 100 students, all 100 students could be on there looking at different objects and capturing images. And again, because the time slots are so short, they're 5-minute time slots. Every 5 minutes, it'll change where the telescopes are pointed. So you can always just have students kind of on there and monitoring where the telescopes are pointed from one time slot to the next on all the different telescopes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Mike, curious. Okay, Hadi, yes, please go ahead. That is Samira, right? Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. I was quite late to the this meeting, so it's something you probably would have spoken about, and I don't know. When it comes to the images the telescopes are taking, I want to know maybe I will not say quality, because I know it is quality, but I'm coming from the perspective of an astrophotographer, where usually they take the images. Sometimes you even need to use filter bands like alpha oxygen so that you can actually get some of the colors the way you would want it. Yeah, the telescopes that are out there, are the pictures, images already enhanced using data, or individuals can actually download these images, looking at how they come and enhance it with their understanding, so that it wouldn't create, because like I said, I'm coming from a space where there's a lot of astrophotography going on. So we get the images in a particular way, and then we use the alpha, oxygen, and all that to get the correct display we want. How are these images coming? Is this something that you can edit using data? And where is that data also coming from?
All right, I have an answer. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you. So the answer is yes, both. So I'll just share this for you. So we actually have this patent and processing system that turns these images to color automatically, but we also give students the raw black and white images as well, so that they can work with the images as they please and use the FITS files. So again, there's a lot of autonomy with how you can use the images, and depending on what level you're kind of operating from. So if you're a younger student, you're probably just going to be working with the beautiful calibrated images as kind of your output, which are very high quality images. You can, again, download them as PNGs, JPEGs, or you can, again, work with the raw images and data as well. I'm not a super expert on the filters in the imaging system, but I have a whole bunch of specs that I can send you on that as well to give you more intel. Does that answer your question though?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Samira. Okay, so the follow-up question I was trying to, Samira, is your hand again or the previous one?
Oh, it's the previous one. Let me just.
Okay, all right, thank you. So I was trying to ask, following up with Benjamin's question was, for example, if I am my location in West Africa, and we are somewhere close to the equator, and we try to look at particular source at this time, and someone else also located somewhere on the globe, will this time difference change? Maybe I will have observation time for 5 minutes, and the next 5 minutes it moves to the other person who is also trying to observe the same object.
It really depends on how it's scheduled. So that's why it's so important to schedule in advance. So if you schedule a 5-minute time slot for the Orion Nebula and you're looking at it at that time, and then somebody across the world also schedules it right after you, you can stay on and keep looking at it and nothing will change particularly, but it's, it's not like your mission anymore where you've scheduled it. But it'll just kind of, the live stream of it will just continue based on where other people have scheduled missions, but kind of their location and where they are doesn't matter that much unless they've chosen, a different object to view. And then of course the object will change. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you.
It's easier, I think, to visualize and kind of get the hang of too once you're on the platform and you're scheduling missions and you're viewing the telescopes live. And I mean, there's a great combination of scheduling time for certain objects that you want to see and scheduling your own missions, but then also just being kind of spontaneous with it and hopping online and joining other people's missions and learning about what other people are looking at too. So it's a great balance for students.
Perfect. Okay, we are still within questions. Any other question?
My email is up there as well. If anybody wants to email me with questions, I am happy to answer them via email too.
So from here, I was thinking if we can now plan this properly as a main training for our teachers specifically, we can just call it today is just introduction to open our eyes on so many things where teachers can also have time as we go through the training. They can also practice some of these things on their laptops at the same time, and also enhance these images by themselves. So this will be easier for them to get their students involved, and also where we can begin to put them into challenges, like give them a mini project like hackathons, and throw the challenge to them to make a classifications of images from this one. So that's what will be my next request to you, if that is okay.
That would be great. Yeah, we would love to do training with teachers. I can even demonstrate Slooh for students too, to teach them. Sometimes it's hard to get them to pay attention on Zoom, but we can try. The older ones are good. But I'd love to do training with teachers. I can also, we have a whole professional development team and an astronomer team, and of course our curriculum writers. So getting them involved to teach you guys would be awesome too.
Wonderful. Yeah, so we have a lot of teachers here. We have some of them, they are coordinators in that space. So I think we'll take it from this level, and also get in touch after this, and also plan for such workshop as well.
Great. I'm looking forward to it. It's been such an honor to speak to you all. And again, it's just so amazing to be able to connect with people all over the world, and the fact that we can connect in this way and hopefully collaborate is really exciting.
Okay, Samira, yeah, thank you. Hands up.
I'm sorry, quick one. How do I get access to the platform? Reason why I'm asking is I do astrophotography. If this is a way of trying to get all the necessary data without me having to mount a telescope, polar align, do all that nitty-gritty to get some of these images, and I can get it directly from you without that stress with the data attached to it, so I can process those images. How do I get on that platform?
So we have a couple different models. If you're an educator working with students, you automatically get a free access to the account. If you're a professional who's using it separately for, your own projects, then there is like a monthly cost. Again, it's very affordable. If you go to slooh.com, I'll send it in the chat just so you guys can all have it. There is options to purchase a consumer account, and you pay monthly. You can, try it out this way and see if, it's not letting me send a direct message, but slooh.com. It's pretty, slooh.com.
Let me try to push it to me. Let me see if that
Okay.
is. Okay.
Yeah. And this way you can pretty easily just sign up and purchase a consumer account, because yes, it's a great alternative for astrophotography and a little bit less work.
Okay, so I'm dropping the link here now, slooh.com, right? Okay.
There also will be more information on the platform there too, so you can go read about it and read our mission and our founder statement and all of that.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think there's no question. No question, and 3 minutes past 2 p.m. Okay, no question. Okay, so then on behalf of PRAGSAC team and all our patrons who has joined, we like to say a very big thanks to Anna for taking all the stress And I may say that I think this was also quite a short notice, though we're planning this. And when we're back in at the IAU meeting, so quickly I have to put this together to Naomi. So okay, then let's get Anna and see she'll be able to do this. So this is actually less than 3 weeks or 2 weeks notice. Yeah. And she's able to put all this in together. We are so much grateful for this opportunity. And it has been an eye-opener. And I've seen it's going to be a lot of good resource materials for us to use in what we are doing as well, especially what we have been doing without some of the resource materials available. This is actually going to help us to do that. So we thank you so much, and we're going to get back and arrange for proper training and information.
Perfect. Thank you so much for, opening this space up for me and giving me the opportunity to speak. I really appreciate all of your guys' time. So I'm very excited to discuss next steps and get some teacher training going.
Okay. Thank you too. This is a very good eye opener of how easy young ones can understand astronomy.
Yeah.
The moderator Albert, please, can we have a snapshot of everybody who was present at the meeting? Is it okay to see our faces?
Okay. Sorry, I lost connection, so sorry for that. Yeah. Okay, so I think as I was saying, I was just summing things up, thanking Anna for her time, and I thank all of you also for making time to this meeting. We are so much grateful for coming, and we will be expecting the next month edition. With the September edition, we'll be having also another expert from NASA who will be also
Connection went out.
We miss him.
Can you hear me? Okay, I'm back now. So, all right. Sorry, Anna. Okay, so any last words for you, and maybe we'll just end it here.
Sorry, for me, I said before, I don't know if you heard, but I just really appreciate you guys giving me this space to speak and present. And I'm very excited to discuss teacher training and hope